Hi guys, so basically I've been sort of challenged by my mate Paul Tams. If you haven't already, check out his channel, it's really good, all movie related stuff, really cool guy. So basically what it is new YouTube channels are sort of like doing their top 10 from each genre type thing. So it's like 10 genres, your favourite movie from the genre, just a little bit of fun, just throughout the communities really, just the YouTubers and the movie community. So I thought I'd give it my go as I've had my nomination. It was more difficult than I thought actually, to be fair. So on some of them I put one or two because sometimes it flips. One day I can be feeling one day I can be feeling the other, and it is quite difficult, to be fair, and there's a couple of honourable mentions in there as well. So my first genre is going to be horror, and my number one horror movie is Halloween. I absolutely love Halloween 1978. It's just my favourite horror film. Michael Myers is the man. You know, he's my favourite slasher. I just love everything about that movie. It's just a cool, like, everything about the film. Like, the whole movie is, like, so tense. It's just, like, built on tension. It's just, like, building and building and building and building until right near the end. Like, by today's standards, it's not violent at all. I think you see pretty much zero blood in the movie. And another thing that's just like really good about the movie is for how low budget it was back in the day. It was, you know, made for like I think less than $1 million, which is insane when you think about it in this today's standards. And just everything like they did on the movie, like they didn't have enough money to buy like a quality mask, so they sent one of the production team just down to like the local like Five and Dime, and they came back with like a clown mask and a William Shatner mask from Star Trek. So they just blasted it white, threw it on, mucked up the hair, and you've got Michael Myers, like one of the most iconic slashers of all time. You know, it's just that blank, plain, scary face. Like, you sort of turn it into your own sort of ideas of what you think it is. Like, I remember, like, I used to go to town for a drink or whatever, and I'd just be walking home, and it'd be dark, and I'd be walking down the country roads, and it'd be the first thing that would creep into my mind. I'd be like, oh, I could just see his face lurking from behind the bushes or in the alleyway or something like that. And like your zombies and your Draculas and all that sort of, your Freddy Kruegers, it never really bothered me, but I always had it in my head that, you know, some man in a mask, you know, somebody could put that mask on and just creep around doing some weird crazy shit, and it always sort of got under my skin from a little kid, and I just loved the film. I just love everything about it. My other favourite horror movie is the original Dawn of the Dead. Like, I absolutely adore this film, and it can switch and change from time to time. You know, I want to do it justice and do an in-depth review of that soon, so I don't want to go into too much detail, but basically it paved the way for zombie movies, you know, or zombie media. A medium, you wouldn't have like your Resident Evils, your Walking Deads, any of that sort of stuff. Like my friend Paul said it before on his channel, you know, your Call of Duty zombies, it's all thanks to this movie. And I think this movie deserves the best possible review I can give it. So yeah, Halloween and Dawn of the Dead. Right, okay, for animation, my choice is a Japanese anime called Ninja Scroll, and it's about this guy called Jubei, who's like this wandering ninja, and he gets caught up in this like adventure where he's got to help this woman called Kagaru, and I think his name is Dakandu or something like that. These two get people that he has to help, and it is just a brutal martial arts samurai. It's from like 1992, so it's quite old. If you haven't seen it, you should definitely check it out. It's like super action packed. It's adult, you know, it's got an 18 certificate. It's not for kids, and it's badass. It's that old school sort of drawn art, and it looks amazing. It's just like so fast paced. It's almost like a computer game in a way. Like, you've got like the people that he fights, and then you've got like almost like 10 mini bosses that he's got to fight. So basically there's these people, they're called like the demons. I can't remember exactly what it's called, the demons of something. It's a Japanese name, and the top leader of them is this guy called Gemma, and he's like Jubei's main adversary, and he's got to fight all the underbosses first and work his way up, and it's just like fight after fight after fight, and it's amazing. It's so cool. It's my favourite animated movie. For an honourable mention, I'm going to say Coco, because I really enjoyed that movie, to be fair. I was really surprised when I watched that movie. I just put it on one day randomly. I thought, what's the hype with this Coco? Put it on, man, and I was like in tears at the end. And I don't really like, it's, I was very surprised. It was quite emotional, I was thinking about certain things in my own life at the end, and it was quite teary at the very end. So yeah, my honourable mention's Coco. Right, my favourite drama is Pulp Fiction, and Pulp Fiction is one of my all-time favourite films. Like, it's perfection in filmmaking. It's absolutely fantastic film. It's one of the most quotable movies ever. Like, it's just so good. It, like, from the minute it turns on, you're just captivated. You're in there, you're interested in these characters. It's prolonged scenes of dialogue, but it's really engrossing. You're not bored. You're not like, oh, what are these talking? They were just chatting shit for ages. It's not. It's engrossing. You can just be listening to two people talk about the different varieties of food that you get in Europe compared to America, and it's not boring. Like, for me saying it to you, it sounds boring, but it's just not. It's just a really well made film. It's like a gangster drama, pretty epic as well. They're pretty long movies, the Tarantino movies as well, to be fair. But yeah, it's definitely one of my favourite movies. There's like a couple of interlocking stories. You've got people like Bruce Willis, John Travolta, Samuel L. Jackson, Uma Thurman, Ving Rhames. The list goes on. Tim Roth. You've got a whole host of fantastic actors, and each one of them sort of like larger than life. And, it's sort of broken down into like 3 or 4 different stories, depending on how you do it. And like, a lot of people pick their own bits, what they like the most, but on the whole, it's such a great story, and it all sort of intertwines and stuff like that with each other, which is really clever as well. And it's one of them movies that each time you watch it back, you see something new. Like, oh, you didn't really get onto that. It's one that takes multiple viewings to appreciate everything about the movie. It's just an absolutely fantastic movie. It's so well made. It's just up there as one of the greatest films ever made, and the soundtrack for that movie as well is incredible. And it's, like I said before, it's one of the most quotable films you will ever see. Some of the shit in that film is hilarious. It's really funny as well. Right, okay, that's me drama done. My comedy, right, comedy is a little bit difficult for me, because I generally don't really like comedy movies that much. Like, I won't sit down and just put a comedy on. I'll be like, my go-to is normally I'll sit down and put a horror movie on or something like that, because it's just my genre. But, now and again I do like comedy movies, but on a whole, it's probably one of my lesser go-tos. But I'm going to say The Wolf of Wall Street's my favourite comedy at this present moment. I thought it was a really funny film, and another really well-made film. I mean, it's Martin Scorsese. Like, when I'm used to him doing sort of like gangstery type films and stuff like that. So when I originally heard that Leonardo DiCaprio is going to be playing this like Wall Street banker, I was like, oh, what's this? But as soon as I watched the film, I was like, I want to know everything about this guy. I bought the book, read his whole book. If you haven't read the book and you enjoy Wolf of Wall Street, the movie, highly recommend picking up the book. It's dirt cheap, and you can't put it down. Like, there's stuff in the book that they just can't even tell you about in the film. They can't even go into it. Like, there's one particular scene in the book where he borrows Coco Chanel's yacht and crashes it and like sinks it. There's another bit where I think his wife is giving birth, and this woman goes past with a little dolly trolley, and he just sees the morphine on there, just fucking grabs it and just like sticks himself in the leg with it. Like, that's how bad his drug habit is at the time. But yeah, Leonardo DiCaprio played him amazingly. I was so surprised when I seen that movie. It started getting serious hype. Everyone's like, this film's amazing, it's hilarious. It was sort of like Margot Robbie's sort of like push into stardom as well. Obviously she's incredibly easy on the eye, so that, you know, it made her better in the film as well. Obviously her acting's really good as well, but it doesn't hurt that she's easy on the eye, as I said. But yeah, it's a great film. Leonardo DiCaprio, one of my favourite all-time actors. He was probably one of his best roles. It was just a fantastic film, and it's on for like 3 hours, but you could put it on and it just breezes by. You know, there's no like, oh, it's dragging like this movie. The movie doesn't drag. It fucking flies by, and it's an awesome film. You know, it's just boom, 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 boom. Funny, funny, funny. Great story. Like great, well, let's say great guy, because he was, you know, he stole a lot of money from people, but he was a good character, an interesting character. So yeah, that's my pick for comedy. Sci-fi, I'm going to say John Carpenter's The Thing. I absolutely love this film, and I'm glad that I can have the sci-fi category, so I don't have to like swap it around for my horror. But yeah, The Thing, I love this movie. It is such a good movie, so well made. Kurt Russell, fantastic. Did a lot of work with John Carpenter, especially back in the day. They need to probably do something now. That'd be fucking really cool. I was always thinking like maybe do another Thing with Kurt Russell as like an older version of himself in that. That'd be really good. But yeah, the special effects on this movie, like, I don't like CGI in movies, especially horror movies. I don't think that CGI can come across as scary. Like, I've never watched any CGI that's been scary, that I've ever thought's been scary. Like, I thought that the It movie was a good movie, but the CGI massively let it down for me. They've got the money there to do the practical effects, and The Thing is, you know, 30 years previous, and it kills it off for the special effects. You know, you've got the dogs, The Thing, it's sort of like it's like an alien entity that sort of like invades and tries to mimic what people are, like their DNA structure, and like rebuild them in its own weird way, to replicate, to blend in, to hide. But it's, you know, it's turning people into some fucking crazy shit. I mean, people's heads are coming off and they're like growing legs out of it, and it's like walking around the room. But it's done all with practical effects, and it looks amazing. Like, I watched it the other day, and it's just, it's tense, it's creepy, and it's just a great film. It's just like, you're just hooked straight away. You know, like Kurt Russell, Keith David as well, awesome characters in this film. You know, they've got a bit where they figure out what they're going to do is they're going to take blood samples, and they burn like a piece of copper, and they put it in the blood, and if the blood is like been replicated, it reacts to the heat. So there's a really tense bit where they're like testing everyone's blood. You know, I don't want to spoil it, but if you haven't seen The Thing and you like anything with practical effects, highly recommend this movie. You like horror movies and you haven't seen The Thing, you're missing out. You know, there might be some younger people on here that have not like heard of The Thing, or think, oh, what's The Thing, that movie from the 80s? Check it out, guys. Dig it out, find it wherever you can. Try and get it out on, try and go for a Blu-ray if you can. You can pick it up dirt cheap online on Blu-ray, guys. Don't go for like a DVD. Try and watch it in the best possible way you can, and you will really enjoy it. If anyone's not watched it and does watch it and enjoys it, comment below and let me know what you think about it. So yeah, sci-fi, my pick is The Thing. Comic book movie, right, okay. My favourite comic book movie as of right now is Batman 1989. I adore this film. This film will always be one of my absolute favourite movies of all time. Just everything about this movie. I can put this movie on once a week and enjoy this movie. It's just something about it. They just get everything right for me. Like, you get Michael Keaton as Batman, amazing. As Bruce Wayne, amazing. He gets the balance right on both of them. You've got Jack Nicholson as the Joker, my favourite Joker. He is ramped to 100 in this movie. Like, all of his little nuances and crazy things that he does. And, it, you know, some people say it's just Jack Nicholson ramped to 10. You know, whatever. I love Jack Nicholson's interpretation of the Joker. Fantastic. The look of Gotham City, the soundtrack, the car, everything about this movie. You got Kim Basinger, amazing. It's just a really, really great film, and sort of brought Batman to a more adult tone as well. I mean, if you've never watched it for the first time and you're used to stuff like The Dark Knight, you'd be a bit like, you know, you have to sort of try and appreciate this for what it was, you know, 30 years ago, you know, something like that. You know, your Dark Knights are epic. You know, I absolutely love The Dark Knight. You know, Christopher Nolan's Batman trilogy is absolutely fantastic, and it's up here for me in my comic book movies. But Batman 89 just tips it for me at this present moment. I can't fault the film, and I really enjoyed the sequel as well. I'd really like it if Tim Burton and Michael Keaton did another Batman film. If they did Batman Beyond, it's just the vibe. Like, it's all like Christmassy, the second one especially as well. It's all like dark, everything's like gloomy and gritty, and I just really liked it. And Michael Keaton, he was just an absolute revelation in that film as well. Like, other people have said it as well, he was like mainly in comedies and that before this movie. But so a lot of people were surprised when they cast Michael Keaton, but he kills it. He got a balance for me right where he played Bruce Wayne really well and he played Batman really well. And that's a hard thing to do, I think. You know, Christian Bale does it pretty well, to be fair, but I think Michael Keaton just tips it for me. So yeah, and my honourable mention is going to be The Crow with Brandon Lee as well. I really love this movie. I love the comic book as well. There's a lot of tragedy around the comic book, which makes the comic bittersweet. And the movie, you know, if you've read the book, you sort of understand the movie a little bit more as well. Like, the guy who wrote the book is really dark as well. It's not for children, as the movie's an 18 certificate. It's not for children either. And so basically the author of the book, his wife died in a car crash, and he was like massively grieving her, and he sort of put everything, all of his like anger inside and his pain and anguish and stuff like that, he put it onto the pages of the book that he was writing, and you can really, really feel it in the book. I mean, it's a good chunk of a trade paperback, and I just read through the whole thing the first time in one sitting, and it is sort of like it's peaks and valleys. It has you like on the edge of your seat. It's brutal, it's action packed, it's tear jerking, it's sad. It's packed with emotion. And I feel like the film sort of it goes in that direction as well. And the film is sort of laced with tragedy as well, with Brandon Lee, tragically dying. I think it was a gun that had been bored out, but there was a blank still in it, and it fired and killed Brandon Lee, like on the set of the movie. And I loved Brandon Lee as well. Like, I know when I got into the movies, he'd already passed away when I was into his movies, but I truly believe that he would have been one of the top tier action stars of today. He was the person that they wanted for The Matrix. They wanted Brandon Lee to be Neo in The Matrix. They made that film with him in mind as well. That was the idea behind the idea of it. But yeah, The Crow is a great film. If you haven't seen it, basically it's about this guy called Eric Draven, and I think it's his wedding night. The book differs, so I get a little bit muddled up from the book and the film. But so basically, these guys break into where he lives. They kill his wife and kill him, and he's resurrected by this crow and brought back to life. And then he goes on like a revenge mission then to find out all these people that have killed and raped his wife, and he brings the revenge on them, and it's him and the crow. The crow guides him to the people that he needs to kill. So yeah, if you haven't checked it out, check out the book though. I think it's Eric O'Barr, I think his name is. Could be wrong, I can't remember the author's name, but it's a class book. James O'Barr. Sorry, James O'Barr. Check that out. It's a really good, if you enjoy the film and you want some more of it, go for that book. Highly recommend it. Then you can get the special edition on Amazon for about 17 quid. But yeah, it's an awesome book. So that's my honourable mention. Right, action movie. This is a tough one. At this moment, I'm gonna say Die Hard. Die Hard is a hell of an action movie. It's a serious action film. If you've never seen Die Hard, you know, what fucking rock have you been living under, to be fair? You need to get off your arse now and go and watch this film, because this is a proper film. Bruce Willis, you know, again, it was a bit like, oh, Bruce Willis in an action film. You know, we know him now as Bruce Willis, the action star, but back in the day, it was like, him off Cheers. I think it was Cheers he was in, or one of them like sitcoms in America. He can't do action. People go and watch it and they just shit their pants. Like my uncle, I remember he was telling me, there used to be like one of the cool little video shops where we lived, and he used to go in there because he was obviously a lot older than me, and his mate worked in there. So he went in there one Saturday, and they were like, he was like, oh, have you seen this new Die Hard film? And my uncle was like, no, I haven't seen it, not even heard of it. And he was like, oh, it's good, take it home and watch it. And he says, like, it's how I feel sometimes. I put it in and I'm just in that film until the Dean Martin starts singing at the end. I'm in that fucking movie. It's so good. Like, the action, Hans Gruber is one of the best villains ever. Alan Rickman, he plays a fantastic villain in that movie. Like, the action's good, amazing, the action's amazing. The film is shot amazingly as well. It's acted really well. It's not just like an action film, like, you know, it's not like Commando or something like that, or a Van Damme movie where it's just an action a second. You know, this is a well-structured, thought-out action film with like some great cinematography. It's claustrophobic as well, because it's all set inside a tower block. Like, it's like not a hotel, more like an office apartment block type thing in America. So basically, Bruce Willis comes from New York to LA to catch up with his estranged wife at Christmas time, and so she invites him out on Christmas Eve, and they're having like a works party. So he goes to the party to try and like reconcile with his wife, and you know, hope, you know, try and make amends or whatever. So when he gets there, he has a confrontation with his wife. It doesn't go very well. He goes off into the bedroom, but then these terrorists come and take over the Nakatomi Plaza, the tower block, because there's a safe upstairs and it's just loaded with money. So like it's like the bonds, I think it is. It's full of bonds, like $650 million worth of bonds or something like that. And they lock it down, take over, take all the hostages. And Bruce Willis is just left in the bedroom, hears the gunfire, gets on his toes, and then he has to take back the Nakatomi Plaza single-handedly on his own. Man, I'm getting fucking goosebumps just thinking about this shit. And he has to go against all these German bad guys, and they, you know, they've got high-powered artillery. He's got his police-issued Beretta and his wit and no fucking shoes on, and he has to kick some serious ass and fight his way through all these bad guys. And it's just like exhilarating scene after scene after scene, and he is quick-witted. You know, he's thinking fast on his feet. He's funny as well. You know, he's not losing his sense of humour, even though all this crazy shit's going on. He's kicking some serious fucking ass in this movie. And if you haven't seen it, you need to head out and watch this movie right now. Right, so that's my action one done. Right, next one, romance. I'm going for A Star Is Born. Like, my girlfriend was like, oh, I want to go and watch A Star Is Born, this new Lady Gaga film. I was like, really? And she was like, we always go and watch your films, let's go and watch it. So I was like, right, okay. So one night we went and watched it, sat down in the theatre, movie came on, didn't even look away from the screen for the entirety of the movie. And that is a movie where you have got wobbly lip at the end. And I don't cry. You know, I'm not a cry person at movies, you know. I'm just not. I'm not like afraid to say it. But this movie, it fucking got to me. I was just like blown away by this movie. A lot of times you'll go and watch a movie and it's just done and dusted. You watch it, it's a good movie, forget about it. This movie, I was thinking about this movie for days and days afterwards. it was really, really thought-provoking for me, and it just sort of sideswiped me. I had no idea what I was going into, and the next thing you knew, it was one of the best films I'd seen. I was like, this film is incredible. I just did not expect it to be this good. I enjoy listening to the music from it as well. Like Bradley Cooper actually sang all of his own songs in it himself. I was absolutely blown away. Like, the guy's not a singer, and he's got an amazing voice, and it was just, I was just mesmerised by it. Like I was saying to a few people, like, this is a film that you have to see. Like, Lady Gaga was fantastic. I was like, oh, a Lady Gaga movie. I was like, holy crap, this woman can like really act. And it was just a lovely, lovely film. It's not a kid's film by any means, and it's quite dark in some of its themes, but it's a really, really good film. It's a heartbreaker as well. You know, it's a real tearjerker of a movie as well. It's, you know, some of the themes are a little bit upsetting in the movie, but it's a movie you should watch if you're into musicals as well. You're into, you know, it's like country and western style singing in it as well, which I was really surprised at with like Bradley Cooper. But yeah, I wanted to watch more of it, so I got the Barbra Streisand, Chris Christopherson version from like the 70s, and I didn't really enjoy it, to be fair. I just fucking swerved it halfway through. I thought it might have sort of similar vibes, but it didn't. It was just its own sort of animal. And Bradley Cooper's Star is Born was fantastic. Like, he was absolutely brilliant in that film as well. You know, he was like almost like a lost soul. It was mad, because it was like she sort of brought him back, and it was their ups and downs. He had some serious demons in that movie, and he just conveyed it really, really well. Great film. If you haven't seen it, check out A Star is Born. Right, Western. The Good, the Bad and the Ugly is my favourite Western. It jumps around and differs from time to time, but when I was a little kid, my granddad was into Westerns, and the movie that he always put on was The Good, the Bad and the Ugly, and we used to watch it all the time. It's such a good film. The soundtrack to that movie is incredible. Like, now it gets me. There's like a piece of music in that movie that I would like played at my funeral. It's that good. You know, it's an incredible movie. It's just some of the filmmaking in it as well. Like, they use like cannon noises for like the pistol noises and stuff like that. And Clint Eastwood, you know, when you think of cowboy, it's Clint Eastwood who comes to mind. You know, he's the man with no name. He's the good looking, the good, you know, he's a badass, total badass all the way through it. No mucking around. It's just a really, really, it's a good movie as well. You know, it's an interesting movie. You know, if you're not into Westerns, it's a long fucking movie, to be fair. But if you haven't seen it, it's part of a trilogy as well. So it's called the Spaghetti Western trilogy, the Man with No Name trilogy. So you've got, for a few dollars more, The Fistful of Dollars and The Good, the Bad and the Ugly. So they make up a trio. But The Good, the Bad and the Ugly is the best. It's a class Western movie. Honourable mentions are Once Upon a Time in the West, because I love Charles Bronson and the man with the harmonica. That tune is just is amazing. Obviously I haven't got a harmonica, I got the whole finger, but yeah, Once Upon a Time in the West is another absolutely epic. You know, you're looking at around the 3-hour mark. It's a brilliant movie, but it's one of them ones where you've got to be into the genre to sit down through that amount of time, especially if you're a casual moviegoer and you're into more modern stuff. You know, we're talking about pretty old films here, guys. You know, so, you know, it could seem as old hat to you, but if you're open-minded and you do enjoy a Western, Once Upon a Time in the West is amazing. One more honourable mention for that is Django. Django Unchained is a fantastic movie. Like, my man Jamie Foxx, he is a badass in this movie. There is no fucking around with Jamie Foxx in this film. Like, I was like, Jamie Foxx in a Tarantino Western. I was like, what is this? And then me and my friend went to watch it, and she's into movies as well. She was like, come on, we'll go and watch this movie. So we were sat there watching it, and we were just like, this film is sick. And I was like, as soon as I walked out, I was like, Jamie Foxx is the man. Jamie Foxx is like my new favourite. Love Jamie Foxx. He's a badass. Christopher Waltz, badass. Leonardo DiCaprio, horrible badass. The acting, they're all on fire. Like, Tarantino has this knack where I presume it's just because everybody who's starring in the movie is like, we're in a Tarantino film. They're all fucking buzzing and they all bring their A game. They want to do good. Then no one's like being a bit like lazy in the background. Like, everyone's like, we're in a Quentin Tarantino movie. We're giving the best performances we possibly fucking can in a movie. Like, no one's slacking. No one's bringing like 5%, 10%. Everyone's 100 fucking percent all the time, and he seems to be able to draw that out of people, and it shows so much. Like, in the special features, there was one particular scene, if I remember correctly, where Leonardo DiCaprio's like talking to everyone around a table. It's near like the end of the movie, and I don't want to spoil it or anything too much, but sort of like they're getting to the point where Django and Christopher Waltz Schultz are getting to the goal of the movie. They're nearly there. They can see the end game, and it's a case of a signature on a paper, and they're off on their merry way, and all's good. And Leonardo DiCaprio is just talking and talking, and he's twigging onto what's going on the whole time. And there's a bit where there's like this skull on the table, and he just picks the skull up and like smashes it with his hand on the table, and that wasn't in the script. So everyone's just sort of like a bit shocked, but they carry on filming and everyone stays in character. And there's a bit where he's like just starts like screaming and ranting at everyone, and that's not in the script. And he like grabs Kerry Washington's face and he's cut his hand, all his hands pissing with blood, and he just grabs Kerry Washington and just starts like rubbing his blood in her face, and, like, throws her back on the thing. And like everyone is just like, what the fuck is DiCaprio doing? He's lost his fucking mind. But they kept filming and kept in the role, thank God, and they kept it in the movie. And when they hit cut, like, everyone stood up and like round of applauded him, and like we're all like, wow, you know, like. And I think that's what Tarantino brings out of these, you know, already quality actors. So yeah, that's my honourable mention as well. I think that's, oh no, my adventure. This was a struggle. Mad Max Fury Road, you know, to some it might not come across as an adventure, but I loved it. You know, it could be action, adventure, sci-fi, sort of, in the Mad Max Fury Road. And I wanted to put this on there because it was my favourite cinema experience of all time. It's the first time I ever watched IMAX, and I was just blown away, like, how good it was. It was one of the best movies I've ever seen at the cinema. George Miller's Mad Max Fury Road. Like, Tom Hardy was cool as hell in it. Didn't, in my opinion, he didn't really get enough dialogue in the movie. He spent the first 50 minutes with a mask on where he couldn't even talk all the way through it. You know, Charlize Theron was the standout of the movie, playing Furiosa. You know, you walked away feeling like it was a little bit more of her type of movie. And apparently the sequel they were going to do, or they're doing, is Charlize Theron. So what I did read, I think it was Quentin Tarantino said, and it's something that I thought would have been like an amazing idea, is he said that he would have done it where he would have had Mel Gibson as Max. And I love Mel Gibson. I don't give a shit what anyone says. Mel Gibson's the man to me. I love Mel Gibson. So they would have had Mel Gibson as Mad Max, and they would have had Tom Hardy as the feral child. Remember about the originals? The little fucking crazy dude who throws his boomerang round. They could have had him, and I thought that was a really cool idea. Will we get to see Tom Hardy as Mad Max again? I don't know. I don't think so. You know, I think George Miller's like 80 years old now. So if he makes another one in the next 2 or 3 years, you know, fingers crossed he does. You know, Clint Eastwood's still churning out films, and he's, what, like 90 odd. So hopefully, but I think it seems that the Tom Hardy sort of era is lost its momentum now. You know, I think he could have been better if he had more dialogue. Or they just made him the feral child. They should have had Mel Gibson in there as a nod anyway. you know, unless he's sort of like fallen out with George Miller or some shit, you know, but I would have had him in there just out of respect, really. Sorry, excuse me, I got hair in my mouth. Yeah, so Mad Max. One more honourable mention I wanted to make was for my horrors, and that's Candyman. I have done a video on the Candyman before, but if you've never seen it, I'd highly recommend you checking this out. If you like horror movies, like slasher movies, he's almost like a ghost story. Not too much, but he is a bit of a spectral ghost in a way. But yeah, Candyman is a quality horror movie. A really well made, quite thought provoking, very different horror movie. But you should really check that out. So yeah, thank you very much. I know this has been quite a long-winded video, this one, so if you stuck around for the full 35 minutes, I really appreciate it, guys. I hope it's been interesting, and I hope you pick up some movies from this that you might not have heard of before, and you take away and you really enjoy it. You know, that'd be great. If you do watch anything off my list and you enjoy it, comment down below, get some sort of conversation going. That'd be great. I'm going to nominate Drewski McGillicuddy. I want him to do his top 10 from the genres as well. So if you want to check out his page, he's got quite a lot of followers and he's got a lot of momentum on his page. He's been going for quite a while now, and he does some good unboxings and some good reviews as well. He's a cool, funny guy. So if you feel like checking him out, do that. I'll post his link below. So yeah, thanks very much for sticking with me, guys. If you could like and subscribe, that would be great. And hope you enjoyed the vid. I enjoyed making this one. Bit different, something a bit different. Cheers for the nomination, Paul. Go over to Paul Tams's site and check him out as well. He does some really, really good reviews. He's a really nice guy. He's a top dude. So it'd be great to show him some support. So thanks very much, guys. And I'll speak to you soon. Bye-bye.